What's the worst houseguest experience you've had? I had a friend who needed a place to stay for a few days, so my parents let him stay at our house. He thought he could just stay longer without ever mentioning it or talking to my parents about it. He refused to find another place to live or try to make money, so he ended up staying with us for almost a month. He would trap people in conversations where he would just talk about himself for 2 hours straight. He complained about us not having the foods he wanted, would not stop talking about he was an incredible musician, and said his future plan was to go to LA despite having no job prospects, connections, a place to live, money, or any valid IDs. Within hours of him leaving, he texted me about how he wanted to come over the next day. He is not allowed at our house anymore. My former friend begged me to help her find a place where her special needs kiddos could stay in the same school/services, where her husband wouldn't look for her after supposedly finding questionable material on his PC. I work with special needs populations including abuse victims, so it made sense to come to me. I gave her an old laptop I had for her use, so she could turn in the house PCs. I bought her a new phone. I took them in myself, which meant giving up my actual room for several weeks and sleeping on a futon. I also spent a lot of time babysitting, so she could go talk to lawyers/providers. Imagine my surprise when I went to pick up the kids from school one day when she supposedly had court to extend the restraining order and bumped into dad and grandma. Eventually it came out that there was no restraining order, no court filings, no suspect files found. Mom had a new boyfriend and had told her husband she was divorcing him and her family wouldn't take her in. Some family friends came over with their 30-year-old son unannounced, took a nap on our sofa like full on shoes off, made us turn off the TV because it was too loud. Then Venmo charged us for snacks they brought, even though we didn't ask for anything. I literally felt like I was the one who was visiting. The clown that wouldn't leave. It has become family legend. My mother hired a clown for my brother's second or third birthday party. My mother made the mistake of offering her a cup of coffee after she was done performing, and she seemed to take that as a cue to stay for a while. Hours pass. The party guests are long gone, and the clown is still there drinking the coffee, chatting with my mother still in full makeup and outfit. She ended up staying the entire day until my mom got fed up and told her she had to go because she had to prepare dinner. My dad's friend pissed in the corner of the guest room and asked for money from everyone who happened to walk by him. She stole all of my booze, pissed on my couch, tore up the flower bed to the side of my driveway, and destroyed my guest bathroom. This all happened after I'd fallen asleep. She was a guest of a tenant/roommate, and that roommate was told either her friend wasn't allowed over ever again or she'd have to find a new place to live. One of my best buddies from high school called me up and begged for me to come get him from a town about 3 hours away. The idea was he would stay with us for a couple weeks while he looked for work and then get his own place. 6 months later I ended up renting him a room for 1 month and dropping him off with his junk and wishing him well. His father had warned me he would drain me dry, and he wasn't kidding. All those months he was supposedly using my vehicle to look for work, he was instead going out to a local bar. Every bottle in our liquor cabinet was drained down to the last finger. Couple came for a weekend to my small apartment, surprised that they brought 3 dogs and an extra friend. The puppy took a dump on my floor in the night, which nobody got up to clean. Another dog had a crate, but managed to get a hold of a carpet outside of the crate, drag it in, and shred it. They also chewed up cardboard and wooden furniture. When they left, all the shredded stuff was just where it fell. My mom's cousin and her husband went for a short visit to our house. She was 5 months pregnant then. She and her husband didn't leave until the baby was 2 months old. Instead of asking where the toilet paper is, they let their kid wipe his ass with our guest towels. My ex-wife's friend had her car break down, and our apartment was right on a bus route to her job. She was supposed to stay over for a week while she got her car fixed. After 2 months and a lot of warning, we packed her bags for her and put them by the door. My parents came over and started snooping through my closet while I was making tea. They found some sex toys and proceeded to get mad at me for having them in my own house. In my own bedroom. They wouldn't have found them if they were behaved like normal people. My old roommate told me she had a friend who had fallen on rough times and needed a spot to crash for a while. No worries, I told her. Whoa, big worries. He was a professional beatboxer, but more that he was a professional smoker. Like, I'm fine with weed generally, but this dude was on 12 to 15 blunts a day and would roll one as soon as he rolled his tighty witty clad ass off of our couch. So for like 4 months, as soon as I woke up, it was nothing but clouds of white owl and brrrrmmchk fracafracachcabram. He didn't fall on rough times. He was a rough time. My aunt came to visit for what was supposed to be a week or two and didn't leave for almost a year. When I was a kid, she redecorated my room and even put up pictures of herself. Now the running joke in my family is to randomly leave pictures of yourself around the house when we visit people. Wife's cousin stayed a couple days with us. After he left, I discovered he purchased about $60 worth of porn on Direct. My uncle and his wife came to stay for a while. They got my room, and I slept on the couch for a few months. NBD when you're a kid, I guess. What actually ticked me off is that when they finally left we found out that they'd seriously messed up my room. Everything reeked of cigarettes. There were ground up peanut shells in the carpet, cigarette burns on my mattress, etc. And we couldn't figure out why the room smelled like death until we lifted up the bed and found mummified cat shit stuck up in the shag carpeting. They either had such bad hygiene that they didn't notice the smell or they knew and they just didn't care. Edit. To everyone asking how we didn't notice the cigarette smell, my guess is that they only smoked in the room during the day when everyone was out, probably smoked out the window. My parents weren't smokers, we just figured the smell was coming from their bodies which we couldn't do anything about. We were having a family BBQ and this gong show of a woman Joni shows up. She's the alcoholic GF of a guy my dad and uncle worked with and were friends with. We already knew she had a knack for ruining a good time and being a party pooper, so we decided to tell her we were all getting ready to leave and go to my grandparents'. She says she needs to use the restroom, so we wait and then pile into my mom's van and drive down the street and circle back. We arrive back and my uncle Kelly goes to use the restroom and immediately comes out and says, "What the fuck, man?" She had pooped everywhere, smeared it everywhere, and then put her filthy panties in the sink and rolled out like it was nothing. We didn't see her for a few years and then ran into her at Canada Trust and at the bank, loudly apologized for shitting all over our restroom. We never saw her again. My dad owned a business his whole life and was in the process of hiring new installers. One applicant came in from out of town and my dad, being the kind man he was, offered for him to stay in our home. When the morning came, the man went to take a shower. My parents heard the water turn on and it stayed on for a really long time. After an hour and a half of running water, my mom made my dad go check on him. My dad went upstairs, picked the lock on the bathroom door, and found blood and a limp body on the floor next to the running shower. The man had overdosed, lost consciousness, hit his head on the shower side, and died. He was dead, right there on the bathroom floor that I used for 10 years. One thing is for sure, he one year'd be coming back to our house again. My Milia joked you're about taking my newborn with her to her state and called me an inferior parent 8 days post-birth. I told her I'd break her arm if she tried to leave the house with my baby. She cried because I didn't find her joke funny. That would be the girl visiting my sister-in-law who decided it would be funny to repeatedly prank call 911. I got a very angry call from the local police station saying we either stopped or they'd be sending a squad car over. apologized profusely to the officer, and thanked him for calling us first. She was not invited back to her house. She was 17 and definitely old enough to know better. Housemate had people come over, order a pizza, decide they didn't want it, and refuse to answer the door, so they didn't have to pay, at 4 AM. Pizza guy could hear them through the door, so kept knocking louder and louder. I eventually went to the door and opened it, then explained to the pizza guy what was going on, so that they didn't blacklist the property, and forced them to pay. As they were packing to leave the next day, I noticed them trying to take some of my extra PS4 controllers by sneaking them into their bag. I'm normally an introvert, but already being cranky from no sleep, I lost my shit at that point, called them a disgusting thief, and told them to get fo. Ran into a guy I used to call a friend and let him stay with me for a while as he was down on his luck. I guess we'd ran out of toilet paper, so he used a washcloth and left it at the side of the toilet. Kicked him out, and found out later he walked away with some of my CDs. Some mutual friends let him stay, against my advice. They came home one day to find him passed out on the couch with his pants around his ankles. After they kicked him out, they found out he'd racked up $900 in phone sex charges. Fuck you, Noel. You always were, and always will be, a piece of shit.